Hello, all. Thank you for taking the time to listen and participate in Quisitive's Advancing Healthcare Through Digital Transformation Summit. I'm really excited to spend a few minutes talking a bit to you about ways to meet regulatory requirements while reducing risk via the Azure platform. I'm Michael Quill, a Senior Director for Cloud Transformation at Quisitive, and I'll be driving today's presentation. But I would be remiss to not mention Adam Sherwood, one of our incredible Azure architects who helped in this presentation and also formulates our healthcare advice for customers every single day. Thanks, Adam. So today I'm not going to talk about standard Azure cost management or cost containment topics like Azure Hybrid Benefit, reserved instances, savings plans, right sizing resources, storage optimization. Obviously, if you want to talk about those things, Quisitive is here. We're happy to chat, but we're really going to focus today on two key healthcare challenges: records retention and security and compliance. So the first challenge we want to talk about today is really about medical records and the retention requirements. As many of you know, most states in the U.S. have retention requirements for medical records. They can mandate, a period since the last encounter. By HIPAA law, it's at least 6 years. In certain scenarios, like you might imagine, in sort of a minor scenario, you have to maintain them. If and when that minor becomes an adult, so you can imagine very easily you go from 6 years to 10 to 20 years, depending on the special use case. And that creates a really unique strain on sort of healthcare organizations. Those retention periods, 6 years is a long time in a hardware cycle, but if you think about 10, 20 years, that really outlasts the age of most hardware, software, underlying storage that you'll see in enterprise organizations. And so the challenge becomes, how do you maintain and comply with those requirements, but then also, doing your duty for the information and the people you're caring for. How do you maintain access and security and confidentiality for those records, not only on the initial system, but on an ongoing basis as you maintain them for 10, 20 years. And so that's a real challenge we see a lot of organizations facing. So the second major challenge we want to talk about today is really around security compliance. We know that there's a huge risk and cost associated with patching and maintaining servers, and many of the COTS applications that healthcare orgs use require a certain operating system. So, for instance, it may run currently on Windows Server 2012, and only a newer version of the app is supported on the more recent versions of Windows, like 2016, et cetera. And so organizations are really put in a bind to have to maintain and secure these aging underlying hardware systems and operating systems. And so if you think about sort of the current state of protection, Microsoft's Digital Defense Report, talks about 98% of attacks can be secured by simple hygiene, and simple hygiene is patching. And then, on top of that, if you look at sort of the ever-present notion of ransomware, and unfortunately have seen way too many very high-profile instances of that attacking organizations, that can simply be protected by patching your servers. Now, if you think about the challenge of having a particular operating system for a particular version of an app, that creates its own challenges. Obviously you've got an issue where you need to keep the app and the operating system up to date. That can require sort of these costly projects of provisioning hardware and software, working with a vendor to update their software. You've got to deal with the downtime ramifications associated there. And so that really creates a burden in a lot of IT organizations, especially since many of these application upgrades are really not planned for. And if they are, they're not a priority. Security is ever present, super important, but we know that if budgets are tight and there are challenges about what we're going to prioritize, unfortunately sometimes these app level updates can be deprioritized, creating a unique challenge as well. All hope is not lost. There are certainly some ways that Azure, it's a wonderful platform, can help us solve these specific healthcare challenges about records retention as well as security compliance. And so we're going to take a moment and dive into that now. So if we think about the challenge of medical records retention, what are some of the ways that Azure can assist? Azure's answer to this is really around blob storage. And there are several benefits there that organizations can recognize. First, from a cost perspective, there are various tiers available from cool to offline that really undercut the long-term storage costs that an organization has to pay. And so that's a very compelling driver for some orgs to move the storage there. If we think about compliance, there are native Azure features that provide logging, encryption at rest, role-based access control that really keep our records safe and secure, based on obviously the sensitivity of the information, but our requirements by regulation and mandate. From a reliability perspective, when you configure it properly, you're talking about 4 nines from an availability perspective, which is a huge benefit to the organization. And then, finally, if you think about simplicity, have this ability to kind of decouple your records from your on-prem infrastructure. And so you're focused on records and retention requirements and not, whether or not the current version of, hardware or OS or software is out of date. And so what is the second challenge we talked about? We talked about, this notion of underlying OSs being out of date and requiring corresponding app updates. One of the huge benefits for organizations is around moving, Windows Server and SQL Server workloads to Azure. It immediately comes with 3 years of extended security updates at no additional cost. Otherwise, if you want to pay for that on-prem, there's a significant upcharge for that benefit. And so simply moving those workloads to Azure gives us access to that. And that allows us really time to look at, planning and executing upgrades and migrations. It allows us to reduce our on-prem infrastructure footprint. And obviously, that the whole while we're continuing to receive these security updates. And so that really is a huge benefit for organizations looking to minimize their unexpected or upgrade spend. If you think about planning for those application updates, as well as gives them peace of mind that they have time to appropriately plan for how they want to address that update or upgrade. And so some critical dates I'd remind you of is from sort of an end of support is obviously around Windows 2012. With this notion of extended support in Azure, you have until October of 26 to deal with that operating system change. And then on the data tier for SQL 2012, with the extended support that's available in Azure, you can actually go ahead and have that support and security patches through July of 2025, which is a very, very extended window for something that's already out of support, and allows the organization to really plan for and thoughtfully patch and handle that update. All right, so we've talked a little bit about your options here. Obviously, Azure is a great platform to solve these two challenges. First from an Azure Blob Storage capability to solve potentially your medical records retention challenge, as well as the access to extended security updates and the ability to move your existing workloads into Azure. Really reduces the organization's attack surface, attack vector, and reduces your risk. But how do you get started? So how do you get started? When Quisitive thinks about the ways we help customers with that transition to the cloud, this is very much a journey that you begin. You can think about sort of our approach starting from left to right. We begin really doing an analysis of your environment to help you understand the primary use cases you're trying to solve. We talked about a couple of them today, right? Obviously, extended security updates top of mind for all healthcare organizations to make sure you're secure and compliant, as well as trying to solve and comply with mandates and requirements around HIPAA and other state-based regulations as it pertains to medical records. And so we can help you come in and give an analysis of your environment, give you guidance, give you recommendation, help you sort of move through the journey from that initial analysis into planning, into the initial implementation and foundational configuration. And then obviously from a migration perspective, we can help move your workloads to the cloud so they're more secure, so they're more compliant, easier to manage and deal with. And then once you're in the cloud, Quisitive has designed an entire service we call Azure Management Services to help you secure, optimize, and manage your environment over time. We built this service over nearly a decade of helping thousands of customers transition their operations from on-prem to the cloud. We start with sort of core advisory services to learn your business. Obviously, we bring our industry focus sort of understanding the unique challenges healthcare organizations face. We pair that with some amount of hands-on proactive behavior around your operations of your environment, incident management, incident response, monitoring, security and compliance, obviously top of mind for healthcare organizations. The ability to have managed detection and response, to have obviously our security advisement and improvement programs, some key assets around policy and compliance standards is what we can bring to bear for our customers. And then finally, using automation to do some patching of those potential attack vectors, whether that's identity, which we know is one of the largest attack vectors. So we have a user lifecycle management service to help there, as well as endpoint and servers, which continue to be unfortunately a simple fix that many organizations simply don't have the time and resources to undertake themselves. And so we bring all those services together for our customers in AMS, and then we pair that with our hands-on modernization service we call Flexible Cloud Services to help you across the depth and breadth of Azure. And so that's really one of the ways we can get started. We can help you plan, we can help you execute that initial migration, and then from there, we hope to be your partner for digital transformation as you begin this cloud journey. So thanks again for your time today. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us at ask.quisitive.com, visit our website, quisitive.com, and we look forward to speaking again in the future. Thank you so much.